Imagine asking people from every corner of the world to name a sports car. Some might say Lamborghini. Others might say Porsche. But chances are the first name most people think of is Ferrari. What's remarkable is that many of those people have never driven one. Most have never even seen one up close. Yet somehow, Ferrari has become the universal symbol of speed, success, and luxury. Here's the strange part. Ferrari builds fewer than 15,000 cars a year. Toyota builds millions. Volkswagen builds millions. Ford builds millions. If success were measured by production, Ferrari would barely register. So, why does one of the smallest car manufacturers have one of the biggest reputations on Earth? The answer isn't speed. It isn't price. And surprisingly, it isn't even Formula One. Ferrari became famous because it learned something that most companies never truly understand. People don't buy products. They buy stories. Every Ferrari tells a story long before the engine starts. It tells the world you've achieved something extraordinary. It tells people you've reached a place that very few ever will. That's what Ferrari has really been selling for decades. Not transportation, not horsepower, but identity. Most car companies compete by offering more. More technology, more comfort, more features, more value for the money. Ferrari plays a completely different game. Instead of asking how to sell more cars, Ferrari asks a far more important question. How do we make every car feel impossible to replace? That single question changed everything. Imagine walking into a luxury boutique to buy a rare watch. You have the money. You're ready to pay. But instead of handing you the product, the salesperson smiles and says, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait." For most products, that's frustrating. For luxury products, it makes them even more desirable. Scarcity changes the way people think. When something becomes difficult to own, it instantly feels more valuable. Ferrari understands this better than almost anyone. Every year, demand for Ferrari exceeds supply. The company could increase production tomorrow. It has the factories. It has the customers. It certainly has the money. But it chooses not to. Why? Because Ferrari knows that the moment everyone can own one, it's no longer special. Scarcity isn't a side effect of Ferrari's business. It's one of its greatest products. Think about how people react when they see a Ferrari on the road. They slow down. They take pictures. They point. Children stop what they're doing. Adults smile. That reaction doesn't happen because the car is merely expensive. It happens because it's rare. Our brains naturally assign greater value to things we don't see every day. Ferrari has spent decades protecting that feeling. And that discipline has paid off. Today, buying a Ferrari isn't always as simple as having enough money. For some limited models, Ferrari gives priority to loyal customers who have built a relationship with the brand over many years. To outsiders, that sounds unbelievable. Imagine a company refusing to sell you something you can afford. But that's exactly the point. Ferrari isn't trying to sell every car to every customer. It's trying to protect a reputation. Because once exclusivity disappears, rebuilding it becomes almost impossible. This approach also explains another unusual fact about Ferrari. Compared to many global brands, Ferrari spends surprisingly little on traditional advertising. You rarely see Ferrari convincing people to buy its cars through television commercials or giant marketing campaigns. It doesn't have to. Its customers do the advertising for it. Every time a Ferrari appears in a Hollywood movie, every time an athlete arrives in one, every time a famous musician posts a photo beside one, millions of people are reminded that Ferrari represents success. The company doesn't interrupt your attention. It earns it. That might be Ferrari's greatest marketing achievement. People voluntarily talk about the brand. And that's far more powerful than any commercial. But Ferrari's reputation isn't built on rarity alone. Because there are plenty of rare cars that most people have never heard of. Ferrari became famous because it combines scarcity with emotion. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a Ferrari. What appears in your mind? Maybe it's a bright red sports car. Maybe it's the sound of a screaming V12. Maybe it's the image of a winding road somewhere in Italy. Notice something. You're probably not thinking about horsepower, or fuel economy, or trunk space. You're thinking about how the car makes people feel. That's exactly how Ferrari wants it. The company has never tried to become the most practical manufacturer. Instead, it has spent decades creating unforgettable experiences. The sound, the design, the steering, the driving position, even the way sunlight reflects off the bodywork. Every detail is designed to make ownership feel memorable. Because memorable products create memorable brands. And memorable brands become legends. That philosophy didn't begin with marketing experts or branding consultants. It began with one man whose dream was never to build the world's most famous luxury car. His dream was much simpler. He wanted to build cars that could win races. He believed that if a machine could conquer the racetrack, it could capture people's imagination forever. More than 70 years later, that belief still defines Ferrari. But racing alone doesn't explain why Ferrari became an icon. Many companies have won races. Very few have built a legend. So, what transformed Ferrari from a successful racing team into one of the most powerful brands on the planet? The answer lies in what happened after the checkered flag. The truth is, Ferrari didn't become famous because it built great cars. It became famous because it built one of the strongest identities in modern business. That identity was born on the racetrack. When Enzo Ferrari founded the company in 1947, he wasn't trying to create a luxury empire. He wanted to build machines that could beat everyone else. Road cars existed for one reason: to finance racing. That decision shaped Ferrari forever. Unlike many manufacturers that use motorsport as advertising, Ferrari's racing program became the heart of the company itself. Winning wasn't just good publicity. Winning proved that Ferrari's philosophy worked. Every victory strengthened the story behind every road car. And stories are what people remember. Over the decades, Ferrari collected victories in Formula One, endurance racing, and countless international championships. Some seasons were unforgettable. Others were painful failures. But Ferrari never disappeared. Generation after generation, people continued seeing the prancing horse fighting against the world's best drivers and engineers. That consistency created trust. The company wasn't chasing trends. It was building heritage. Today, even someone who has never watched Formula One understands that Ferrari belongs in racing. That association alone gives every Ferrari a sense of authenticity that many competitors spend billions trying to create. But racing is only half the story. The other half is emotion. Think about the most memorable Ferrari you've ever seen. There's a good chance you remember its color. Ferrari's signature red has become one of the most recognizable colors in the automotive world. For many people, seeing that shade of red is enough to identify the brand instantly. The same is true for its design. Ferrari doesn't simply build fast-looking cars. It builds cars that feel alive even when standing still. Long hoods, low roof lines, flowing curves. Every line has a purpose. The result is a design language that remains beautiful decades after a model leaves production. Then there's the sound. Before you even see a Ferrari, you often hear it. That sound has become part of the brand's identity. It creates anticipation, excitement. Even people who know nothing about engines often stop and look when they hear one approaching. Ferrari understands something that many companies forget. People remember experiences more than specifications. Ask someone about their dream Ferrari. They rarely mention horsepower first. They describe how it looks, how it sounds, how it makes them feel. That's because Ferrari isn't selling transportation. It's selling emotion. And emotion creates loyalty that no discount can match. But perhaps Ferrari's smartest decision has been knowing when not to grow. Many companies become successful, then immediately try to expand. More factories, more products, more customers. more markets. Ferrari has taken the opposite approach. It protects the brand before protecting volume. Building too many cars might increase short-term profits, but it would weaken the very thing that makes Ferrari valuable. Luxury depends on rarity. The moment something becomes ordinary, it loses part of its appeal. Ferrari has spent decades resisting that temptation. And that's one of the reasons people continue dreaming about owning one. The company also understands that reputation takes years to build and only moments to damage. Every new Ferrari carries the weight of more than 70 years of history. Every design, every engine, every decision must live up to that legacy. That's a level of pressure most manufacturers never experience. Yet Ferrari embraces it, because protecting the legend is more important than chasing the next sales record. That philosophy has turned Ferrari into something much bigger than a car company. Today, Ferrari appears in movies, music, fashion, video games, and popular culture around the world. For millions of people, the Ferrari logo doesn't simply represent a vehicle. It represents success, ambition, achievement, the idea that extraordinary things are still possible. Very few brands reach that level. People don't dream about owning a product because it's practical. They dream about owning a product because of what it represents. And Ferrari represents possibility. So, what makes Ferrari famous? It's not just speed. There have always been faster cars. It's not price. There are more expensive cars. It's not Formula One alone. Many teams have won championships. Ferrari became famous because it combined engineering, racing, scarcity, design, and emotion into one unforgettable story. A story that has remained remarkably consistent for more than 7 decades. While other manufacturers competed to sell more cars, Ferrari competed to become more desirable. And in many ways, that was the smarter competition. Because people eventually forget numbers. They forget horsepower. They forget lap times. But they rarely forget how something made them feel. That is Ferrari's greatest achievement. It transformed a machine into a dream, a purchase into an aspiration, a car into a global symbol. In the end, Ferrari isn't famous because everyone owns one. It's famous because almost everyone wishes they could. And perhaps that is exactly what makes Ferrari famous.